Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I have a Littlestown number 25 Vise that has some really ugly paint on it. And I can spend a lot of time trying to wire brush it off, or I can put some paint remover on it. Well, if it comes off the vise as fast as it did the floor when I spilled a little bit of it on there, it's probably going to work really well. But we're going to give it time, let it sit, we'll get the paint off of it, then we'll grind off the bottom on that thing. Let's see. Oh, that paint remover works great. Look at that, wiping right off. A little fumey, kind of a chemical smell to it. What a mess. Well, it does take the paint off very nicely. I can't say paint removal is my favorite thing to do. I don't think it even ranks anywhere near favorite jobs. But the end result is almost worth the effort. I will go over and wire brush the result, but that's got the paint off, and the paint is with a wire brush, it works. I mean, it comes off, no problem at all, but it's messy. It goes everywhere. Probably could do this better in a sink with some running water. But it is working. Side benefit is I'm cleaning out the pan from underneath the lathe. When you oil the lathe every time you use it, it does tend to drip a bit. Buying your wife new tea towels is a great idea. You don't want to use new tea towels in your workshop because it ruins them. You never use it as a tea towel again. But if you buy your wife new ones, she gives you the old ones. The old ones work just as well in the workshop as a brand new one. And it's one of those side benefit things, you know. Here you are being generous and getting your wife something nice, which is always appreciated. And you get some really good shop rags. Like, I've washed these probably 4 times, and they take a tremendous amount of abuse. I'm pretty sure the idea of the Littlestown foundry was to make a lot of these in a real hurry and sell them as quick as they could. Because, you know, until you sell it, you haven't made any money. So faster is better. But you can see that this is just a chunk of bar that was cut off. Just probably cut off in a shear, something like an iron worker. And they would cut them to length and then jam them down into the mold and cast the iron around them. That's how it's held on there mostly. Now I did see them casting molds, and I didn't see the bars in the molds. So I don't know if every vise that they made was made with the bar cast in the mold, but you can cast the beam, bar, whatever you want to call it, into the mold, and it works really well. The iron goes into the mold, and then as it cools, it shrinks. Now this bar doesn't heat up when the iron hits it. I mean, it warms up a little bit, but it's nowhere near as hot as the cast iron. The molten cast iron that comes down that sprue. So when the cast iron shrinks, cools off, it shrinks, and it shrinks a lot more than the bar does. And it grips onto that bar, and it's not ever going to let go. There. Paint's removed. I got the paint off the vise. As soon as it dries, I'm going to set it up in the big vise, and then I'm going to take the 3-inch sander and I'm going to knock off that bottom and try and get it as flat as I can. And we'll go from there. It's going to be, it would be really nice to be able to put it into the lathe and turn it like I did the base, because that really makes a good flat surface. But I think I'd have to build a whole lot of fixturing just to clamp it down and hold it steady so that I can make the cut, because it's pretty violent on the piece of casting because it's an interrupted cut. And with something hanging out there ways, it tends to knock the thing loose, and having a 10-pound casting come flying off the lathe is not a good day. So anyways, we'll hit her with a grinder. When you make a casting, any casting, you have to make it so it goes in and out of the mold. When you make a casting, any casting, whether it's aluminum, steel, whatever, in a sand mold, you have to be able to get the pattern out. So you want to make the pattern by putting an impression into the sand and then pull the pattern out of the sand and leaving the hole or mold for the iron to go into. That means that you have to have what's called draft. Draft is just putting a taper in the pattern. And that taper means this doesn't sit flat, because this edge is lower than the center. That way, since the mold is split along this line, and you can see the mold line all the way along it, this side is lower than the center. Also, this end is lower than the center all the way around. So you have a line here that's higher. It's like a crown. That draft is important for molding, but it really messes up our opportunities for having a flat surface. That means we have to take away the part that's sticking up along this center and also out here, because it gradually gets down to the low points here and here, and this is high, gradually sinking down. This is high, gradually sinking down. Same thing over here. So, to make our steel plate, to make our swivel so it doesn't rock and rattle, we have to lower the contact points. But the contact points is only along the outer edge here. Now, last video I said I was going to use the 3-inch grinder. Well, last video I said I was going to use the 3-inch belt sander. That would be nice for flattening the whole thing off. And the big 12-inch sander out in the garage probably would do a nice job, and even the belt sander would do a nice job. But it's not necessary to take off that much iron. We can use this grinder and just grind away right around the edge. Take that down so that we take this edge down so that the swivel base sits right there on it flush. I want to take just the outer ring down so that it's all the same height. It's more of a case of test fit. You know, take a little off and test fit it, take a little off, test fit it, and I'm going to be doing that for a little bit. That's better already. I'm hitting in the middle. The middle's a little high. So we'll have to take some off there too. That's got it. That should stiffen her up. I'm going to put some Loctite on that bolt though, because it wants to walk out. Okay. No rattle. Okay, got the rough grinding done. Now we'll come in, maybe do a little file work. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching. This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the US or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.